Why do you always attract people who hurt you? Why does love so often begin as a promise only to turn into another wound? This isn't weakness. It isn't punishment. It is the echo of a truth buried so deep in you that it moves silently beneath your choices. You are not broken for repeating the same story. You are remembering what your body once learned. That closeness can feel like danger, and tenderness can cut like a blade. Love should be simple, yet for you it feels complicated. It should feel safe, yet for you it awakens anxiety. Every time someone sees you, truly sees you, a voice rises inside that whispers, "Be careful, don't trust this, it won't last." That voice isn't random, it's the guardian of old wounds. It warns, it shields, it pushes away the very thing you long for most. And here you are, listening now. Which means something in you is ready to look beyond the surface explanations. I'm unlucky, they're toxic, maybe I'm not made for love, and see the deeper current, that you attract people who hurt you not because you want pain, but because pain has always felt like home. You've likely seen it repeat. At first, everything feels alive. Your heart races, you feel chosen. You let yourself imagine a different ending. For a moment, you even believe you are safe. The colors seem brighter, the world feels lighter, and you allow yourself to think, maybe this time love will last. But slowly, subtly, the old pattern slips back in. A late reply sends your thoughts spiraling into hours of overanalysis. A silence in the room suddenly weighs more than words ever could, filling the air with tension you can't name. Your body stiffens, your chest tightens, your breath shortens. Suddenly, you're shrinking yourself, monitoring your every gesture, rehearsing your words in your mind before you dare to speak. It's not because you don't know how to love, it's because deep down, part of you is convinced that if you show too much, if you need too much, if you lean in just an inch too far, the ground beneath you will collapse. And even when you notice it, even when you tell yourself this time will be different, your body betrays you. It pulls you back into the same story, as if your nervous system has already written the ending before the first chapter even begins. This isn't just about romance. The same script plays out in friendships where you find yourself being the listener, the helper, the one who always holds space, yet you hesitate to ask for anything in return. You may sense that your presence is valued only when you're giving, not when you're needing, and so you keep your needs locked away. At work, the wound wears a different mask. You overextend yourself, take on tasks beyond your share, hoping that excellence will finally make you visible, finally prove your worth. Yet, despite the long nights, the sacrificed weekends, the endless striving, recognition slips through your fingers like water. Even in your family, the pattern is there. You play roles instead of standing as yourself, keeping the peace by silencing the truths that ache in your chest. Again and again, the theme repeats. You stretch yourself thinner and thinner, silence your needs until your voice becomes a whisper, bend until you nearly break, all in the desperate hope that this time, finally, you will be loved without vanishing into someone else's expectations. And when it doesn't work, and it rarely does, you turn against yourself. You tell yourself you're too much, too sensitive, too complicated. You replay every word, every gesture, as though you could edit the past and make yourself more acceptable. Or you swing to the other extreme. You harden, grow cold, and convince yourself you don't need anyone at all. You wear detachment like armor, making yourself unreachable so no one can get close enough to wound you. Yet beneath both masks, whether of neediness or indifference, the same wound lives quietly. It is the fear that real closeness will inevitably hurt, and the unspoken belief that if you are hurt again, you might not survive it. This is the invisible cycle. You long for intimacy as if it were the air you need to breathe, but the moment it arrives, you fear it like fire in your hands. And so you find yourself caught between two truths. You want love desperately, and you are terrified of what love can do. To understand why this happens, we must go back, not through logic, but through memory that lives in the body, etched deeper than thought, older than words. There was a time when you reached out for love with open hands, expecting nothing but to be met. In those early years, you did not ask if you were worthy of it. You didn't bargain for affection or perform for attention. You simply needed it because every child does. And you believed with all your being that needing was enough. Yet what you found may not have matched what your soul hungered for. Maybe love arrived in fragments, here one moment warm and glowing, gone the next, leaving you cold and uncertain. Maybe it came with conditions. Be quiet, behave, succeed, smile when you don't feel like smiling, and don't ever be too much. Or maybe it didn't come at all, and you learned to read emptiness as normal, silence as safety. These early patterns did not just pass by. They became the soil in which your heart grew, shaping the way you would seek and fear love for years to come. In those moments of absence or inconsistency, something inside you made a vow. A vow so subtle, so quiet, you didn't even know you had spoken it into existence. But it settled into your nervous system like law. It might have sounded like, I won't need again. I will protect myself. If love hurts, I will stay distant. If I am perfect, maybe they will stay. If I disappear, maybe I won't be rejected. These silent promises were not flaws. They were brilliant strategies crafted by a child who refused to be destroyed by neglect or rejection. A child cannot endure repeated disappointment without building walls, and so you built them. They may have been invisible to the outside world, but within they stood tall, fierce, unmovable. And once built, they did not crumble easily, because to dismantle them would have felt like walking into danger unarmed. Those walls stayed with you, shaping not only your view of love, but also of yourself. They became the silent architects of every relationship you stepped into, scripting how close you would allow others to come and how far you would retreat when threatened. So when someone approaches you with kindness today, those old vows awaken like echoes from a forgotten chamber. Your body tenses before you even think. Your heart races, not with excitement, but with warning. Warning that feels primal, as if love itself were a predator to guard against. You may push them away, retreating behind the safety of coldness and distance, convincing yourself you don't care. Or you may cling so tightly, desperate not to lose what you finally found, that the bond cracks under the weight of fear. Either way, the cycle repeats. Not because you are broken, not because you don't deserve love, but because the child inside you is still standing watch, still trying to keep you alive. That child does not know the storm has passed. They believe love is still dangerous. And until you see this for what it is, you will keep confusing survival with sabotage, protection with punishment, defense with destiny. The very thing that once shielded you is now the thing that blocks you, not out of cruelty, but out of loyalty to the pain you once endured. Look closely at your life today, and you'll see the echoes everywhere, if you dare to pay attention. In love, you may find yourself drawn again and again to partners who are emotionally unavailable. The ones who can't quite commit, who hold you at arm's length while letting you taste just enough sweetness to keep your hope alive. They give you crumbs, never the feast, and yet you convince yourself that crumbs are better than nothing. With them, you chase affection like water in a desert, bending yourself into shapes that don't belong to you, silencing truths that ache to be spoken. You think, if I just stay patient, if I just love them harder, if I just prove myself, maybe then they'll stay. And even when your mind realizes they cannot give you what you need, something deeper resists. Your body clings, because letting go feels like confirming the oldest fear. I will always be abandoned. I will always be left behind. And so you hold on, not to the person, but to the desperate possibility that maybe finally, this time will be different. In work, the pattern disguises itself in productivity and ambition, but the wound plays the same melody beneath the surface. You overextend, saying yes to projects that drain you, taking on burdens that were never yours to carry, burning your energy like a candle at both ends. You tell yourself it's just dedication, but really it's the old bargain replaying itself. If I achieve enough, they'll see me. If I give everything, they'll finally recognize my worth. And so you deliver more, you push harder, you strive endlessly. But recognition slips away like mist through your fingers. Each time praise is delayed, each time credit goes elsewhere, each time you are overlooked, the wound stirs, and deep inside, you hear the whisper again. You are invisible, You are not enough. No matter what you do, you will never be seen. This isn't just about work. It's about the same ache that once lived in the child who needed love and couldn't always find it. Now, the workplace has become another stage where the drama repeats. Even in your own body, the cycle continues in ways you can't always explain. Anxiety rises before intimacy, as though touch itself carries danger. Restlessness gnaws at you when things feel too calm, as if peace is unfamiliar and chaos feels more like home. A sudden tension locks your chest when someone says, "I love you," because those words, meant to heal, carry the weight of all the times love was uncertain, unsafe, inconsistent. This is how the wound lives on, not as a distant memory you can easily recall, but as a rhythm playing underneath every choice, every gesture, every heartbeat. You may think I should be past this by now. I've read the books, done the work, tried to move on, but healing does not obey time. It does not answer to clocks or calendars. Healing happens only when your body and soul sense readiness, when the truth you once buried feels safe enough to rise. And if these words mirror your story, if you feel the recognition burn in your chest as you listen, share below what part resonates most with you. By naming it, you break the silence. By speaking it aloud, you remind yourself that you are no longer carrying it alone. Here's the part that feels hardest to accept. The very patterns that wound you are also the ones that once saved you. What looks like sabotage is, in truth, loyalty. To the child you once were, to the vows you once made, to the protection you once needed in a world that felt too sharp for your softness. You are not weak for shutting down. You are not flawed for pulling away. These are not signs of failure. They are evidence of survival, strategies carved into your nervous system at a time when you had no choice but to shield yourself. Every wall you built, every silence you learned to keep, every mask you put on was a testament to your will to endure. They may wound you now, but back then they were your lifeline. Think of it this way: if your body decided that intimacy was dangerous, then each time you pushed someone away, you weren't failing. You were protecting yourself from what once felt unbearable. If your nervous system learned to equate closeness with pain, then the coldness, the distance, the walls were never punishments. They were shields, crafted with precision by your younger self. Shields that may feel heavy now, but once stood between you and devastation. Imagine them as armor you had to wear into battle, scratched, dented, weighty, but armor that let you survive when you had no other weapon. Those defenses were not mistakes, they were miracles. Proof that even as a child you instinctively knew how to keep yourself safe when safety was not offered. The paradox is that what once saved you is now what keeps you from the very thing you ache for most. It's like carrying an umbrella long after the storm has passed, not noticing that the sun has broken through the clouds. It's like locking every door in your house, unaware that the danger has gone, while people who care are knocking gently outside, waiting to be let in with love instead of harm. The habits that once preserved you have become chains, binding you to old memories, convincing you the world hasn't changed. Yet when you see them clearly for what they are, not as flaws, not as destiny, but as old survival codes, you reclaim your freedom. Something inside shifts. You stop blaming yourself for repeating the pattern. You stop calling it weakness. Instead, you bow in compassion to the wisdom of your younger self, who did what they had to do to endure. And from that place of reverence, the walls begin to soften, not because you smash them down, but because you realize you no longer need them in the same way. The storm has passed, the armor can be set down, and the child who once fought to protect you can finally rest. So how do you move from the cycle of hurt to the possibility of healing? Not by demanding perfection of yourself, not by setting impossible deadlines for your heart, and not by forcing the walls you've carried for decades to crumble in a single night. Healing does not answer to ultimatums. The first step is much softer: to reframe, to see that love is not automatically danger, and closeness is not automatically pain, to slowly teach your body that tenderness can mean safety, not threat. This is not about convincing your mind with arguments, it is about showing your nervous system, again and again, that connection can coexist with calm. It is about whispering to your younger self, it is different now. You are no longer trapped. You are allowed to feel safe in someone's arms without bracing for the break. This shift does not begin with grand gestures or dramatic breakthroughs. It begins with the smallest of moments, moments so subtle you could miss them if you weren't paying attention. It begins when you allow yourself to sit in calm without waiting for chaos to erupt. It begins when you let someone show you kindness, and instead of brushing it off with a joke or dismissing it as nothing, you pause long enough to receive it. It begins when you risk speaking one truth, however small, and notice that the world doesn't collapse when you do. These are the rewiring moments, the delicate stitches where your system begins to learn. Maybe it is safe to receive, maybe I can soften, maybe I no longer need to guard every breath. These moments are not flashy, but they are revolutionary. For every time you allow them, you are gently reprogramming a lifetime of defense into the possibility of peace. But here is the deeper key. The pattern of attracting people who hurt you is inseparable from the pattern of never feeling enough. They are twin threads of the same wound. One whispers, "I am unsafe when loved." The other murmurs, "I must earn love endlessly because who I am is not enough." And together, they weave a net that keeps you trapped in exhaustion. This is why reframing cannot stop with safety alone. It must also touch the roots of worthiness. That is why I created the next video, Why You Never Feel Enough, the childhood wound behind it all. You'll find the link in the description below. In that teaching, I explore how the hidden vows of unworthiness, silent promises like I must perform to be loved, or if I show my real self, I'll be rejected, fuel the very cycle we've been talking about today. If this video is the mirror that shows you why you are drawn to people who hurt you, the next one is the doorway that reveals why you keep believing you must prove yourself to deserve love. When you are ready, step through. Not because another video holds the magic, but because your soul is already asking for the next layer to be seen. But even before you watch, remember this truth. You are not broken for building walls. You are not cursed for repeating patterns. What feels like emptiness inside you is not proof of failure. It is proof of your endurance. It is proof that some part of you refused to give up, even when love felt absent, inconsistent, or dangerous. And the fact that you are here now, listening, means the timing is right. Healing does not arrive on command. It does not bow to impatience. It arrives in the moment your soul decides you are finally strong enough to let the walls fall, one brick at a time. That timing is never late. It is never wrong. It is precise, sacred, and unfolding right now. The very ache that brought you here is not your curse. It is your compass, and it is pointing you toward freedom. You have carried the weight of survival for so long that it may feel inseparable from who you are. The armor has been on your shoulders for years, and sometimes you forget that it was something you put on. It feels like skin. You mistake the walls for your identity, the defenses for your nature, the silence for your true voice, but they were never you. They were garments stitched together in urgency, coats you wrapped around yourself to withstand the storm. And yes, they served you faithfully. But the storm has long passed, even if your body hasn't noticed. The truth is, you are not cold. You are not distant. You are not destined to repeat these cycles forever. You are tenderness disguised, waiting for the moment it feels safe enough to reveal itself again. That gentleness inside you has not died. It has only been waiting. Every scar on your heart is proof of your strength, but it is not the whole story. Scars may show where you've been cut, but they also show where you have healed. Beneath the armor, there is still softness, softness that never left you, even when you convinced yourself it had. Beneath the silence, there is still a voice, quieter but persistent, longing to be heard and believed. And beneath the walls, there is still a flame of courage, waiting for the chance to risk being loved without conditions. This is what wholeness really means, not striving to become perfect, not erasing what hurt you, not rewriting your story so the pain vanishes. Wholeness means reclaiming every part of you that never stopped waiting to be welcomed home, even the parts you once disowned, even the parts you thought were unlovable. To move from survival into wholeness, is not about rushing or arriving at some imagined finish line. It is about presence. It is about noticing the small moments when you no longer need to hide. The way your body relaxes when someone stays. The way your chest expands when you finally speak your truth. The way your heart steadies when you stop pretending. Healing is not a destination out there on the horizon. It is the quiet realization that what you thought was broken was never destroyed at all. It was only waiting for you to return. It is not about becoming someone else. It is about remembering who you were before the walls, before the silence, before the fear. And as you take each breath, each word, each gesture into that remembrance, you will see that the tenderness you thought was lost was always here, waiting patiently for you to come back. The cycle of attracting people who hurt you does not end by chance, it ends by choice, but not the kind of choice that is loud or dramatic, not the kind of choice that demands overnight transformation. It is the quiet choice of recognition, the moment you whisper to yourself, "I see it now." When you see the pattern for what it is, you stop confusing it with destiny. When you name the vow for what it was, a promise you made in fear, not in freedom, you stop living as though its rules still govern your life. And in that instant, however fragile, the threads begin to loosen. The cycle does not unravel because the world around you suddenly changes. It unravels because you decide, "I am no longer a prisoner of what was. I can walk into love without carrying the old map that only led me back to pain." That choice is not a lightning strike. It is a candle lit in the dark, and with each step its flame grows steadier. The people who once mirrored your wounds will no longer hold the same magnetic pull. You may still encounter them, but their presence will not sink its hooks into your skin. You may still notice familiar echoes in their words, but you will no longer mistake those echoes for belonging. Because once you've seen the truth, that what you called love was often survival, you cannot unsee it, and when illusion dissolves, its power fades. That is the gift of awareness. The spell is broken. You recognize that intensity is not intimacy, that unpredictability is not depth, that being needed is not the same as being cherished. And suddenly, the patterns that once felt inevitable begin to lose their grip. They become like shadows at dusk, still visible, but fading, softer, unable to command your steps the way they once did. In that awareness lies a freedom that no one can take from you, because it is born inside your own perception. This choice is not about rejecting love, it is about redefining it. No longer chasing intensity that burns you out, but choosing safety that allows you to breathe. No longer mistaking chaos for passion, but allowing peace to be beautiful in its quietness. No longer settling for half connections that leave you starving, but holding out for a love that nourishes and sustains. The door to this kind of love has always been there. The handle has always been in your hand. The only thing that changes now is that you finally trust yourself to turn it. And when you do, you discover that beyond the door is not emptiness, not abandonment, not danger, but the kind of intimacy that heals rather than wounds. The cycle ends not because someone rescues you, but because you chose to rescue yourself. And that choice is the beginning of everything new. If these words found you, it is not by accident. Life does not place mirrors in front of us unless we are ready to see what they reflect. And if you are here, it means the time has come to stop blaming yourself for attracting pain, and start honoring yourself for surviving it. The very wound that made you guarded is also the invitation to discover your worth beyond conditions. Carry this with you. You were never broken. You were never unworthy. You were never too much or not enough. You were only protecting what was sacred inside you. And now you have permission to live without the armor, to let love feel like safety, to let tenderness feel like strength, to let connection feel like home. If these words resonated, stay close. Subscribe, not because you need more noise, but because this is a journey we walk together. Your story doesn't end here. Each video, each reflection, each moment of recognition is another step toward freedom. Your inner compass already knows the way. You don't attract people who hurt you because that's your destiny. You did because that's what you once believed love was. But now you know better, and with that knowing, everything changes.